Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter today. It is promptly 1 o'clock here today on this lovely Thursday afternoon here in Central Ohio. Welcome to all of you who have joined us today. We have a lot of folks here. We're here to talk about or look at the enhancements or many of the new enhancements in our upcoming new payroll rewrite release that's coming up here in Church Windows version 24. Okay, so one of the first things that I've been asked to talk about is many of you may have received the email from us earlier today with regards to announcing our new update and support structure. So I've been asked to basically just remind folks that we are not going to be answering questions on our webinar today about that. On any of the webinars, if you have questions about the new update and support and you're unsure about things or just have general questions about it, please call us at the toll-free number 800-533-5227. We've got folks that are available and happy to answer questions about that new. We don't want to take up the time on the webinar events because we've kind of got a couple big things occurring simultaneously, and the webinars and the new payroll topics are important enough. You have questions about the support and update, we've got folks ready and available, happy to answer those questions for you. There is also a handout on today's event. So on the chat pane of the Demio control panel, click on handouts. It only looks about a third of you have actually clicked on that. That is the brief list that we have at this point of the new payroll enhancements in 24. That is the material, printed material that I am using for the basis of the event today. There we go. Thank you very much for that. Just allows you to see exactly what I'm seeing when what I'm talking about with regards to that. If you're unable to download that and you need us to send it to you, please let us know. Okay? All right. So let's dive in. We've already chewed up about 4 minutes of today's 20 minutes. We'll try to squeeze it into 20 minutes or the remaining 15 if we can. If not, it'll go long, but it'll be recorded and you need to go, you can always revisit it. Okay? So it talks about managing what's new in payroll. Well, first of all, help files. So much of what we're talking about here today is the help files will work very much like the help files do in membership, donations, and accounting. You're on a particular page, you hit the F1 key on your keyboard, it will open up the help files on that page. And again, it's an enhancement. We're trying to make the software in terms of payroll as similar to the conventions that you're already accustomed to working with in membership, donations, and accounting as possible. So as we can see here, in our image map, again, image map in the center with quickly and often used functions in payroll. So just FYI, when the payroll is released, I don't know if it's updated in this, but we're going to ask me later. Sorry, folks, give me a second. Close out of this, allow blocked content. Here is our help files here for the payroll. I don't think it's written in yet. We're still updating those since we're waiting on screens, but the F1 key and the help files will be available before the software is released, okay, or at the time that it is released. But F1 or accessing help separately will be updated and available. Enhancement number 1, okay. Managing payees. So now when we look at our employee/contractor page, we're seeing basically the new employee file, essentially. I have employees and contractors checked. If we click on contractors, we notice here we've got a variety of tabs across the top: general information, pay hours rates, allowances, deductions, employment. So basically there are some few added items here. Certainly under employment, you have the ability now to enter notes about a particular employee. One of the features that we're very, very pleased about with regards to this is if we notice here on the right-hand side of the employment tab that whenever there is a change made to an employee's pay, whether it's their gross pay or hourly rate, it's going to make note that change. Okay, so right here, it shows us right here that as of 10/5 of 22, Larry's pay rate was changed to the $13.50 regular base pay. So again, when changes are made to employees' pay rates or pay rate history, there is a record of that under the employee under the employee file, okay? Totals tab, and we're talking about the tab down the left-hand side here, shows us not only totals now, again, yeah, this is all available when your data is imported or converted into the new payroll. It will convert all of your historic data, and as we clearly see here, all of our employee pay data for previous payroll years is all available right here, okay? You have to do nothing about that. It'll simply be brought in as part of the conversion process. But all of the payroll history for each employee is available right there at your fingertips, okay? We also do have the ability now to archive employees as opposed to essentially terminating them. So again, they're being archived into, so you're basically not going to see those, and we're talking about the archive button here in the upper right-hand corner. There's just so much, folks, on this new employee file here. If I'm going back to my HR tab, again, I've got general, which has got, name and address and job description and birth date. And if there's a default memo that I want to put on their check, emergency contact, again, pay hours and rates. And as we notice here, we don't have a separate page now for how employees are linked into accounting. So right here under the employee file, we see their employee expense account, whatever accounts they're crediting for Medicare, Social Security, FICA. Basically all of the accounting links occur in the employees and the contractor file. Again, allowances, deductions, all of this stuff is going to occur. And even if you notice here under our allowances and deductions tab for things like our pastors or our additions and allowances, all of the history is brought over in with that as well. So you're not only just seeing the employment history with regards to their totals there, okay, under there, but under the deductions and allowances, it will show in the prior year's deductions and allowances as well. Okay, there's just so much here that we've added in, and it's been desperately needed in the software, but we're now very pleased to say that we're bringing in so many of these very much needed functions and features into the new payroll. Okay. Let's see, taxes, of course, is a separate tab as well. And again, when you go to the taxes tab, all of your employees are linked to their various tax liability accounts based on federal, state, local, miscellaneous tax. And I'll talk about miscellaneous taxes here momentarily, okay? Let's move on to our organized payroll information. So we can go, we're going to close out of our employee file, and right here next to that in the upper left, we've got our departments. So you've always had departments, and you've had the ability to enter, set up new departments at will, but what you've not had the ability to be able to do is to filter those employees necessarily easily by that. So you can, I think, go in and you can filter them by department code in any number of ways. Certainly you'll be able to do that while you're calculating the payroll as well. So right here, see where it says filter by departments. So right here I can go, okay, I only want to see my pastoral, so I can do uncheck everybody but my, say, ministers, and then show those selected, and then here are my two ministers that I have quickly and easily on that, okay? Unlimited pay labels. This was a really big issue in the old system. We had regular, additional, overtime, sick time and vacation, okay? So if we now go up to pay labels up here, notice here we've got regular, additional, overtime, and then under paid time off, we've got sick and vacation. But if you want to, folks, add additional pay labels for one particular employee, you can do that. So you can just simply click Add Label. It opens up and it gives, you can enter the name for it. Let's see here. I'm thinking, let me just type in something. So we click OK, and then notice here it's an additional pay label, okay? I now have that as a pay label that I can link for one employee or all of them, okay? So you're not limited by the pay labels that we have traditionally entered for you. You can customize pay labels pretty much any way you wish. When you've got a pay label you're no longer needing, you can inactivate that. I believe it's probably not going to allow us to delete that by using the minus sign if it has a history of it being used, but definitely you can inactivate them if you wish. But if I want, I can now click, because I haven't used the one I created, I can simply click minus and it'll say delete. and it'll say yes. Let me try clicking one here for like regular. Yeah, and it says here standard pay label cannot be deleted when it has employees. Yeah, so I'd have to remove it from folks to do that. Okay. Yeah, and so yes, again, folks, I'm seeing a question popping in saying, can you create a pay label for holiday? And absolutely the answer for that is yes. Whether you choose to add, yeah, I guess you have to decide on that, whether you want to add that under your paid time off section or on that, Lydia, or whether you want to go enter it under standard. Okay. Under, again, a really big step forward here. So when we go back up to payroll, data setup, and we go to things like allowances and deductions here, one of the things that this is really, really, really important is you can now enter a start date and an end date for your allowances or deductions. So if you're saying, okay, I'm only going to use this deduction for an employee for a set period of time, you can tell the software when that deduction or allowance will end systematically. Okay. So when I click on the add button here, say under my allowances or deductions, notice here it puts in and it says, what's my new description? It automatically enters the start date that I can again edit if I wish, and the end date, which is simply optional. Okay. So but it just an FYI, you don't have to go in now and remove necessarily a deduction or allowance from an employee's file. If it ends, an end date will end that for them systematically for you. Okay. So really a big step forward with regards to that. Okay. And again, if we close out of our allowance, I've got to cancel out of that. So let's see here. Let me see. How do I remove that? It may not be able to do that. Oh, delete. There we go. Hang on. Let's get something in here and delete that. Yes, we want to delete it. There we go. So it's requiring I finish it and then either delete it or add it. Either way. Same thing when we go up to, say, allowances here or deductions. We've got the same virtual identical screens, folks. Okay. They work almost identically. Okay. In terms of how those work. A miscellaneous tax wizard. So what that is because more and more states are implementing these miscellaneous state taxes that are not necessarily considered local taxes, we see right up here at the very top, miscellaneous tax. So it's a wizard, much like your local tax wizard. You add it, you enter, is it a school district tax, is it a flat rate tax? You tell it, you construct it. So when we click on that, it opens that up and we click add, and it allows you to structure those specific miscellaneous state taxes that your state may be implementing on you. We're seeing more and more of those. This miscellaneous state tax function will allow you to manage and deal with those better. Okay. With about 5 minutes left, folks, let me see what we've got here. Okay, check designer. So right now, again, this is folks, there's going to be changes and enhancements to this even after we release it. But right now, when I go to print checks, either here or under report/export, I choose check reports and print first run checks. So right here, I have my pay for October 15th. Again, something that was found here later was that it doesn't, when there's one pay date in here, it doesn't identify the date of that pay, but I know that this is my 15th pay. We're going to enter a starting check number. Now when I click next, notice here, right here to the right of my check layout, I've got the check designer function. Okay. So we click on that. It opens up a designer window that we see all over the other parts of the software. I mean, yes, the software still really supports only a 3-part check, stub, check, stub, check, stub, stub, okay? But otherwise, you can customize these check layouts pretty much any way you wish. But, of course, as we always are about it, we want one stub to stay with the church's record for the church's record keeping purposes and one stub to go to the employee, so there can be recovery or something if needed. But you can bring in logos or things if you want in this, okay? So yes, you've now got a check designer in the payroll module just like you do in accounting. It says designed to any check paper stock. That's sort of true in the sense, folks, but the fact is we are still only supporting these two check styles, check stub stub and stub check stub, okay? I think that's what the intention is, okay? So I'm not entirely sure how accurate that is. The software really wants to have, when it says adding your own branding to checks and stubs, yeah, it's what it means is you can do the check designer and you can bring in a logo or, ads, whatever, import images or something, if you're wanting to on your check stub. That's what the check designer function now does. Okay. All right. Let's see here. And the final topic on this is two things: are reports. Very much needed. You click on the little printer icon here. You can do multiple report groups in payroll, much like you can in accounting now. So if you run the same payroll reports every pay period, you can create a group of saved reports that when you click on that, you go to next, it brings up those same reports in the preferred format, and allows you to quickly and easily print those print those same reports each and every time. Or if we go up to reports and export, we've got employee contractor reports, payroll reports, check reports, of course, tax reports. We're going to come back to that here in a minute. And then you've got direct links to the IRS website and the Social Security Administration. Okay. So if I go to say something like my pay reports, see here we've got our pay period reports, which my taxable earnings and pay type earnings. Folks, these reports are no different than the reports that you currently have in your existing payroll program. They're just now accessed and organized a little differently. As we've done in all parts of the program, folks, we've tried to do away with menus whenever or wherever possible, okay? But we haven't been able to get away from them entirely. But what I'm really here to show you is if we go to something like our history report and we choose our, say, federal taxable earnings, withholdings, and net pay detail, columns. So you can, of course, choose or filter your reports by department codes or payee types if you wish. But right here under columns, just like you have in the accounting, you have the ability to add and remove whatever columns work for you or don't. Okay? So if you don't like a particular column on any of the reports, you're now able to remove those if you wish. So that's the enhanced customizing of your payroll reports. Finally, page 2, with about a minute left, direct deposit. You now have the ability to be able to post direct deposit or have the EFT file now deposit payroll into 2 separate accounts or split between 2 accounts for your employees. So as part of your, if I'm not mistaken, it's done in the employee file on the, let's uncheck our contractors. Come on. So uncheck contractors, go to Larry, right here, direct deposit. It says account 1 and account 2. So you can choose checking on one, savings on the other. You can do both savings. You can do both checking accounts. You can now direct deposit to 2 different accounts. Yay. Finally, and we're not going to be able to look at this in detail, folks, because we're still working it into the software about your electronic filing with our new partner vendor called Atrix, okay? And so what that is right up here under electronic filing. You'll be able to, we're partnering with Atrix here, but basically you're still going to be able to create your SSA e-file if you don't have to use Atrix for them. You're still going to be able to send that file to the Social Security Administration just like you do normally, okay? But you're going to be able to make tax payments and file electronically without leaving church windows. Yay, yay, yay. That's such a great step forward. You're going to be able to recover forms and filings for prior years. And in addition to being able to use Atrix to file your federal reports, they're going to be able to help you at the state level as well. Okay? So keep an eye out for that. We're going to be using Atrix, AATRIX, as our partner vendor for electronic filing. But they're going to be able to do so much for us and for you subsequently when that is implemented into the new payroll. I'm sorry, folks. I'm going to leave it there. Okay.